Hello. My name's Isaiah. And unfortunately, I voted for Trump. I only voted for him once. That was the first time around. But the second time around, I was shaming people for wanting to go and vote for other people. And I'm not sorry for doing that. I just feel bamboozled. And that's the reason I'm making this video. To make myself feel a little bit better about voting for Trump. Because honestly, it's been nothing but lies. I know tons of people remember this. Trump pre-election versus after. They gotta have something out there. Let's see.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Nina just built an app.
So we can all build apps now?
So
I'm on lunch.
I gotta make a call.
I'll be right back.
Office.
Just built an inventory tracker.
Protein.
So when I say I voted for Trump, some of the policies that I voted for are here.
Calculator.
Now I'm not gonna say like my policies are like the best policies or anything like that. I'm not gonna say that some of my policies aren't selfish, because a lot of the things that he was doing benefited me. So I was like, cool, let's rock. No wars, bro. Let's go. He was big on no wars, man. And let's just look at it, man. Let's just look at it.
Profesor de español.
And look what happened. Is this crazy?
Donald Trump has been elected to a second term as president, defeating a resurgent Democratic nominee in Vice
America's comeback starts right now.
President rhetoric.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. They're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. We don't need another low IQ person.
He has never been interested in calls from even many Republicans to tone it down or to speak in more moderate terms. Trump believes that this is rhetoric that appeals to his voters.
When I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy.
The Trump campaign has really honed in on two issues: immigration and the economy. I remember being in Michigan and Wisconsin, and I'd ask people at his rallies, what's the most important issue to you? And they would say,
all right, whatever, bro. They're just dick riding. This is what we get nowadays. We just either get dick riders or people that fucking tell the truth and then they get censored. You pick. All right, probably gonna get censored then. I'm gonna tell you the fucking truth, bro. This bitch ass nigga said he wasn't gonna do no wars. This bitch ass nigga said he was gonna release the Epstein tapes. This bitch ass nigga said that he was gonna lower taxes. This bitch ass nigga said he was gonna put everybody on tariffs and everybody was gonna be getting all of their overtime. He said a lot of shit, bro, and the nigga ain't did none of it. And actually, it would have been nice if he would have did the no wars thing, because technically he wouldn't have to do anything. And this nigga, first week in office, this bitch ass nigga blow up motherfucking Iran. That's not what the fuck I voted for. That's not what I voted for. And it got me really beaten up on myself, bro. And I feel really low. I feel really fucked up. And I had to sit back and like think like, bro, why would you ever vote for a bum ass nigga like this nigga, bro? And that's the reason I'm making this video, because there was a reason to vote for Trump. And we're gonna watch that here. Tune in, get some popcorn. We're gonna watch why I voted for Trump.
Down to the American family. So, Mr. President, this pork everybody talks about, this thing that they talk about, not only do they have, quote, their pork in it, but they're things that the law enforcement communities of our states and cities talk about. And I'm going to say something outrageous. I don't think there's anybody in here. There's many people.
Now, this is Senator Joe Biden. Anybody know who Joe Biden is? No. Well, this is who Trump was going against, and then this is the guy that I voted for when he was going against him.
They have as good a relationship, but I defy anybody in here to show me they have a better relationship with the police organizations of this country, who I might add for the last decade have uniformly endorsed this, I'm characterized, wide-eyed liberal Johnsonian Democrat. Why do they endorse me if I'm such a wacko liberal who put this together?
Now, he's talking about the 1994 crime bill. If you needed to know anything about the 1994 crime bill, 1994 crime bill, hold on, crime bill, stats, let's look at stats, some stats on it. All right, so you see the numbers here. I'm not about to get to reading this shit. Well, you know what? I will read it. The 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, the largest in United States history, authorized over $30 billion for law enforcement, including funding for 100,000 new police officers, $9.7 billion for prison construction, and $7.1 billion for prevention. It instituted a federal 3 strikes rule, banned 19 types of assault weapons, and expanded the death penalty. Key stats and impacts. Funding. Authorized over $30 billion, including $10.8 billion for state and local law enforcement, mostly COPS program, and $7.9 billion for truth in sentencing grants. I don't know what a truth in sentencing grant is. Incarceration contributed to doubling prison population between 1994 and 2009. Crime trends. Violent crime dropped by nearly 30% between 1994 and 2000, though rates were already declining prior to the bill's passage. Violence against women, including Violence Against Women Act, providing $1.6 billion for the prevention and victim services. Okay. Federal death penalty. Established a death penalty for 60 new offenses. Demographic impact in the 5 years following. 70% of federal defendants recommended for the death penalty were people of color. Yeah, this was the guy that was supposed to be progressive. This is the guy that was supposed to be progressive. He wrote this. So anyways, let's go back to the clip.
Because I listened to them. They told me what they needed. I may be wrong about what's in here. They may be wrong. But let's make it clear. The bill that went out of here with billions of dollars worth of prevention programs that 94 of you voted for, that money got in there not by speaking to any social scientist, not by speaking to any social worker. That went out of here because I spoke to the police. I spoke to the prison officials who ran the prisons. How many of you been in as many prisons as I have as a visitor? I might add.
Probably not as many because Hunter. Well, never mind.
You have been out there and talked to as many cops. I suspect the one person, there many have, but I know the senator from California has. Probably more than I have. They say they want cops. They say they want guns. They say they want equipment. They say they want more jails. They say they want tougher sentences. But they also say that won't do it. They need some help in the community. call prevention, like what my friend from New Mexico wanted to spend $500 million on, like my friend from Utah who wanted to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on. That's what they want. And I hear this pablum about, well, you pass this bill, you're going to get more social workers than you will police. Isn't that, don't they realize, maybe I'm wrong, don't they realize people are smarter than that? They know this is malarkey. It's so discouraging. It is so discouraging. I did an interview on this the other day, and somebody said to me, a reporter, a well-known reporter said, boy, you sure are angry. The one thing we're all told to be when we enter public life is never get angry. It's not becoming of a leader to be angry. I must tell you, though, I've never been...
Nah, y'all remember when Biden was telling Trump he had kicked the shit out of him? Hold on. There's videos where he's threatened. Oh my god. Hold on. Where is it?
Big tech billionaires are pouring thousands into Paul Kendrick's campaign.
Hold on.
Why? Because
Well, US President Joe Biden is once again in the spotlight this morning after using violence to criticize Donald.
There's one more thing Trump and his Republican friends want to do. They want another giant tax cut for the wealthy. Now, I know some of you guys are tempted to think it's macho guys. I'll tell you what, man. When I was in Scranton, we used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while. For green reasons. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Yeah, there's a bit of venom there in that last point that he was making, and you just know what the reaction would have been had.
Where's the other one? Where's the other one? Where's the other one?
Everything is always better when you do it in a team. Just ask these guys.
Look at this.
If this is your closing argument,
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
we truly hate half of this country. This could literally cost them. Now,
I'm Pat Hines, a professional assessor.
Play
the
my
assessment
stuff.
of Fritz Keike's own home has gone down, while many residents have seen their assessments go up. When he pays less, you pay more. You've been fritzed. I'm running for assessor to clean it up.
Hold up. That's a protein shake?
big tech billionaires are pouring thousands in...
I don't know. There was another one. He was like, "I'll kick his ass."
Been as frustrated in my whole life. Never been as frustrated in my whole life. To come this close after 6 years of working with every police organization in this nation, putting together a bill that they've endorsed every time to be stopped by the NRA in politics. I want my friends, because I'm going to yield the floor when they're, and they can have the next 5 hours. And tomorrow they can have another 5 hours. I want them to answer, why is Senator Domenici's program not pork and Senator Dodd's program is pork? Why is Senator Bradley's program pork and Senator Dole's program to have parenting classes and conflict resolution classes not pork? Why is that? Why is it that when the cops tell us what they need, we don't pay attention to them? Well, I know one of my colleagues on the floor last year when this was being debated said, of course the cops want it. All they want is money. That's what he said. All they want is money. Biden's bought them off. We'll go out and ride in the squad cars with them.
Fighting for the feds, bro.
That 2-story, 3-story walk up to that family feud that's going on. Pull over that car on the New Jersey Turnpike or the California Freeway at night and not be sure when that person rolls down the window, they're not going to put a Mac 9 in your head and blow you away.
Right there. At that moment when I was watching this video 6 years ago, I was like, I made a good idea. This might be a good idea. Because the niggas said they gonna pull a fucking Mac out and shoot a cop, bro. I was like, who would do some shit like that? Doesn't even make any sense. And then look at how deranged he looked. Bro, he means it. He meant it. So I don't feel bad no more for voting for Trump. But we gonna finish the video because I still kind of feel bad. But now I'm not gonna feel bad after this.
These women and men put their lives on the line for us. You know, why is it that when we pass a major banking bill, everybody knows we got to compromise? Everybody knows when you reorganize the banking institutions of America, you're going to have compromise. We're going to have a big bill that is either as thick as this or as thick as that, because it's complicated stuff that you're going to compromise on. Since when, as my mother would say, where does it say in fine print that nothing can pass unless you agree with 100% of it? Where does it say that? Now, I'm not talking about fundamental principles. See, my friend who has spoken on this bill at some length, rightfully so, Senator Wellstone is here. There's a lot of parts of this bill he doesn't like on principle, and I admire him for it. But he fought like the devil to get into this bill money to protect women. He fought like the devil to get in this bill places where mothers and fathers who literally beat each other up.
And you saw, we just read it. They put, I think it was 1.9 or 1.7 billion into VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act.
And can't even exchange their children in a divorce settlement when it comes time for visitation, where the child would have a safe place to be. Is he out here saying, you didn't do it all my way, therefore you don't get any of it? Why is it that this is the only bill we get to when people do that? Well, I want to give you a clue as to why I think why, and I admit I have no data to support this. I have data to support other things I just said, but I have no data to support what I'm about to say. But let me tell you what I think. I think it's because crime is very important to the American people, and dealing with it is very important to the American people. And I think it's because, I'm not speaking to my two colleagues on the floor, I'm speaking about this generically. I think it's because, for the first time, the American people are over what sort of got laid in stone and during the Nixon era. The Democrats were soft on crime and Republicans were tough on crime. Just like during the 70s, I think the Democrats unfairly said the Republicans don't like Social Security and we love it. Social Security is automatically the public all through the 30s and 40s, because during the 30s and 40s the Republicans opposed it. It was easy to make the public believe when you'd stand there in 1975 and say, you know, if you elect that Republican, you're going to lose your Social Security. And some Democrats said that. And some of the Republicans they pointed to were as committed to Social Security as any Democrat was. But because the Republican Party historically had been against Social Security, it was an easy hit. It was a cheap shot. And it had some resonance out there. Just like when I first got in politics, even though I'd come from this background and ran on a law and order platform, I remember the liberals used to say, Biden is, quote, an iconoclast. That was what my newspaper called me, an iconoclast. Because how can he really be a progressive and want to lock these people up? I'm sure my friend from California gets hit with that all. How can you be a progressive and be so tough on crime?
Now, he ran on being a progressive and being lenient on crime. That's another reason I voted for that other nigga.
Well, I wasn't wedded to the notion. Every time Richard Nixon, when I was running in 1972, would say law and order, the Democratic mantra, the response was law and order with justice, whatever that meant. And I'd say lock the SOBs up. Well, just as it is no longer legitimate to say the Republican Party is against, as a matter of course, Social Security, the Republicans are finding out it's no longer legitimate to say the Democrats are soft on crime. Because guess what? What has every major crime bill that's gotten this far been? A Democratic crime bill. A Democratic crime bill. That's the secret. A Democratic crime bill. A Democratic president wants 100,000 cops.
Did you hear that?
A Democratic.
Did you guys hear that? Behind every good crime bill has been a Democrat. You hear that? That's the reason I'm a Republican. Now you can't get on my ass. That's the reason I voted for Trump, bro. You niggas didn't see the fucking video. You cannot blame me for this shit. I did my research. My fucking 8 just turned into a 9. It's not my fucking fault.
Wants to build 125,000 new prison cells.
The Democrat want to build 120,000 new prison
Boy,
cells.
is that bothersome. Now, I don't care whether this is a Democratic crime bill or Republican. I really thought it was a bipartisan crime bill. I really thought Senator Hatch signed on. I really thought we had a bipartisan approach to this. Because I heard all these speeches. Why was it okay to vote 95 to 4 for a bill that had 23% of its money in prevention, and then not requires to get 60 votes to vote for another bill that has 23% of its money in prevention, with an extra year added on? Jeez. I am sure there are parts of this bill that if they're voted on individually, my colleagues would want to vote against. I told you the ones I want to vote against. I'll do all in my power, which probably won't be enough, to stop this crazy notion that you can let accusations into a trial. That's in this bill. I have to acknowledge it. It's in the bill. I hate it. It offends me. It offends my sense of what the Constitution is about. I hate some of the provisions in this bill. But guess what? Do you have a copy of the bill? This bill is a big bill. It does things the cops want it done. Not everything they want it done. But I don't know anything here that's done that they didn't want done. Maybe something. Mr. President, this bill here that's imperfect, and it is imperfect, I think it's imperfect. If we pass this bill a year from now, there will be scores of women who were not raped that would have been raped. There will be anywhere from 10 to 20,000 violent criminals who weren't in jail last year that will be in jail next year. There are thousands of children who might have gone the route of drugs that may be playing basketball or in Senator Domenici's program, being mentored by a caring, nurturing adult. There are, over the period of time of this bill, but how many people will get in the first year in the drug courts covered, roughly, would you guess? 100,000 kids that today, young people today, that were arrested and convicted for drugs that are now walking the streets, accidents waiting to happen, who will...
He just called young kids who got caught with drugs, accidents waiting to happen.
Subject to random drug testing, who will be subject to drug rehabilitation. And if they don't do that, they go to jail. Now they're just walking the street. Accidents waiting to happen. There will be women in this country who will be able to take that vicious person they live with, if that is the case, and put him in jail. There will be thousands of women in this country who've been victimized by so-called domestic violence who will be able to take that person to federal court and sue them and take their car and take their house and take their bank account and have their freedom.
I wonder what the domestic violence thing written in was. We'll look that up after this. Because from what I've seen in jail, when I went to jail, a lot of people in there was in there for DV. And I know there's some weird DV laws. Like sometimes when you get called out to a residence, somebody has to go to jail. Like all different types of stuff like that. I wonder what the law is on it.
Will it stop crime? No. Will it end it? No. Because one thing conservatives and Democrats agree upon. Until we end the nation's appetite for drugs, there will be drugs. Until we rebuild the American family, not as a government, but within the family, our churches, our neighborhoods, our communities, we will not have children who do anything other than lack an identity, lack a sense of self-worth. Until we better our education so we have fewer illiterate people, we will not have a more wholesome environment in which to live. Until we let those 200,000 people out of jail last year addicted to drugs as they walk out of the jail after serving their time. Until we make a dent in the number of them that are, in fact, still addicted, they will on average commit 154 crimes each over a period of a year. Mr. President, I hesitate to say this because this shouldn't be the reason to pass it, but it's my way of explaining my frustration. I've never worked on anything so hard in my entire life. I've never been more committed to something that I truly believe can make a difference in the lives of average Americans. I have never cared so much about anything than the violence against women legislation that's in this bill, to change attitudes about how we treat women in this country. My whole life. I may be wrong. There may be a better way. There may be wasteful money. There will be money wasted in this bill. Name me any endeavor, any company, any family, any undertaking that deals with 250 million or anything approaching that. 250 people, not million, where there's not some ability to point out some waste. But my Lord.
This ain't the speech that I heard.
Are we going to deny?
This ain't the speech that I heard.
Because of some...
That's not the speech that I heard. Where is it?
Bill, which is now the Biden-Hatch bill, was the Biden bill. A guy named Biden wrote that bill, and he wrote that bill by going down and sitting down with the President of the United States of America, not with his Attorney General, not with anyone else, with Bill Clinton, President of the United States of America, who between the time he got elected in November until the time he was sworn in, called me at my home on 6 separate occasions and he unfortunately doesn't need a lot of sleep. Sometimes literally, and I say this on the record, as late as 11:30 at night to discuss.
Now this one right here is a speech from 1993 about the same bill, about how he was pushing it.
Why I wasn't moving quicker on the Biden crime bill from before. I sat with him, not with his attorney general. He wanted 100,000 policemen. He does not view this as a social issue as opposed to trying to bring peace and security to the streets. As governor of the state of Arkansas, he presided over, as governor, the execution of individuals within the state and the death penalty. He supports the death penalty. He is the fellow who insisted that I bump this up from initially to when I said, where are we going to get the money? He said, well, all I know is I want 100,000 cops. I made that commitment. He had endorsed the Biden crime bill as a candidate when he ran. He is the one who talks about the need for stiffer penalties. So notwithstanding the fact some of the old Democrats and former presidents who were Democrats before Carter, I suspect, I don't know who we're talking about here, but in the old days, it is true. When Richard Nixon was running for president, Richard Nixon used to talk about law and order, and the Democratic response was law and order with justice, whatever either one of those meant. I never knew. I was running then in 1972. I didn't think Richard Nixon knew what it meant, and I didn't think the opposition knew what it meant. This president is very, very straightforward and simple. He knows there are two basic steps here. One step is you must take back the streets. And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons, more physical protection for the people. He also understands what my friend from Texas understands, and he doesn't talk a lot about, but he signed on to in this bill. He also understands the need to keep people who are first-time offenders, who are nonviolent offenders, or who are potential first-time offenders who haven't gotten, I yield myself an additional 3 minutes, who in fact are people who are getting themselves into the crime stream for the first time, that they should be diverted from the system. So I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1970.
Here he goes again, bragging on it. See, this is what I don't get about you Democratic ass pussies, bro. You niggas is so happy to be like, oh yeah, I'm a Democrat. You're a Republican. You're racist. Listen to the way this man's talking. Listen to the way he's bragging about the shit that hold black people back, bro. And that's what Republican niggas be trying to tell y'all. I still kind of regret voting for Trump, but I don't. Cause look at how this nigga talking.
That's come out of this Congress. Every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill, and has had a majority vote of the Democratic members of the United States Senate on the bill. So one of the things I want to do in addition to ending the crime is end the political carnage that goes on when we talk about crime. Crime is not Democrat or Republican. Making the streets safe is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is one of those issues I hope this passage of this bill will be taken out of the gridlock category and moved into an emerging consensus. And the consensus is as follows, and I will cease when I finish this statement. The consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society.
Let me rewind that, bro.
Person that is accosting Your is A. We must take back the streets.
We must take back the streets.
It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother.
It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. This is the way Democrats talk about us. And I hear all these people running around, oh, bro, you're not black, bro. You said that one guy should have got shot when he ran into a... Nah, bro, yeah, he should have got shot, bro. There was somebody's black-ass fucking grandmom on that bus, bro. And he hit the handicap part where the handicapped people sit on the bus. Yeah, bro, I'm gonna buck the fuck up when a motherfucker do some stupid-ass fucking shit like that. And I'm not gonna say he didn't fucking deserve it. If anything, I'm gonna say good job. Y'all should have shot him more. But those are the same people that say that he shouldn't have got shot. Those are the same people that went and voted for Biden, bro. Those are the same people, bro. So no, I don't regret voting for Trump. And I just had to watch me a video or two to figure out why I voted for the nigga, B. Because when I saw what I fucking saw, I couldn't look away, man. I was like, hold on.
Parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. The Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the Democratic president of the United States of America, the Democratic attorney general, the Republican leader of this effort, Senator Hatch, the Republican senator from Texas. We all agree on that. Now, we can find some fringe folks in the study groups on the right wing and left wing, libertarians and left-wingers in my party who say, no, that's not what we should do. But politically, that consensus has been arrived at. I acknowledge there was not that consensus in the 60s. There is today. There's a second thing that we all have agreed upon, and that is unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without...
Bro, come on, man. Come on, man. You feel me? You feel me? Do you feel me yet? You heard the last one. This one's worse. This one's worse. You heard the last one, though? You heard the last one, bro.
Supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now.
So they're saying the kids that don't know no better, when they grow up, they will become the ones, they will become the predators. That's the reason I voted for who I voted for. I no, bro. You're not finna tell me I voted for who I voted for because you think I'm racist. Bitch, I'm black. There's no way I hate black people? I do, bro. So what? Am I racist because I hate black people? Nah, bro, because I saw a nigga stand over a nigga with a whole 30 and shoot all of the bullets in him. No, I don't like what the fuck that comes from. No. I love black people, but I hate them at the same fucking time. In order to hate somebody, you gotta love them too. It's not like those emotions are separate. Like, love is the closest thing to hate because it's just as emotional as, as the other. It's like the only way to love is to hate. Like, you don't know what you love until you know what you hate. Feel me? You don't feel me. You don't feel me.
Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. You're looking at the fellow who was one of the primary architects of the Sentencing Commission. You know what the basic premise of the Sentencing Commission is? I know the presiding officer knows. It was the first time in 80 years we rejected the notion that the condition of sentencing must be related to how long it would take to rehabilitate. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. I remember when it was going on, when I was making these arguments in the late 70s, they used to call it Biden's same time for the same crime provision. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, we must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior. That's why we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. But we would be absolutely stupid as a society if we didn't recognize the condition that nurtured those folks still exist. And we must deal with that. And I think there's a consensus among Republicans in that. Old barbed wire Republican conservatives just want to hang them high. Even those folks are saying, hey, we got to deal with the root cause of this. Not one or the other, but separately. And liberal Democrats who used to say, let's look at the sociological underpinnings of why this occurred, and we have to, they're now saying, hey, look, we got to take back the streets. We'll make that fight later. So there is a consensus. I hope the remainder of the discussion, as we close out the debate in this bill, we can end that old fight. We can put it behind us. Hopefully we have, the senator from West Virginia said this is a historic moment on this bill, a consensus being reached. I think it is, but I think it's a historic moment for a political reason as well. Hopefully we will end the discussion about whether or not Republicans are Neanderthal and only want to hang them high, and Democrats are wacko liberals and only want to look at the causes. Those days are gone. Evidence of that, the Democratic senator from Delaware and the Republican conservative senator from Utah are united in a Biden-Hatch crime bill that does all the things that I just said. So as one of my relatives who remain nameless would say, God willing, and the creek not rising, hopefully we'll end this kind of debate and
yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, do I regret voting for Trump? No. And all because of those videos. I don't give a fuck how long ago it was. You talk about my people like that, I hold it against you for the rest of your life. And if you know better, if you saw what I just saw and you still chose to be like, yeah, I made a great decision, like, that's between you and your God, but honestly, I don't respect you. Because that means you don't respect my people. Because I was one of them kids that didn't know better, but I ended up learning, you feel me? But like, I didn't know better. I kept bumping my head and all of that shit. But when it came down to it, when I had to learn, when I had my daughter, I locked in and figured that shit out. But it took a very long time for me to figure that shit out, bro. So to hear a nigga even say any gay ass shit along the lines of what that man was saying, bro, it honestly just hurts niggas' feelings. But at the same time, you can't be hurt. You feel me? You just got to make yourself better and just be happy that you learned from your situation. Because if that nigga made some laws today, whatever, you know that you wouldn't be going to jail because you don't do nothing wrong. So, that ash was huge. I was going to show y'all, but whatever. All right, I'll talk to y'all niggas later.